Moratorium on construction in Bali, how marketing really works in Bali, and why you often end up buying something you don't want. Why shouldn't you buy complexes priced over $3,000 to $3,500 per square meter? I'm not even mentioning $4,000 per square meter. We will talk about all of this and more in this video right now. But before we dive into the narrative on these topics, I would like to share some news with you. Specifically, in the near future, a new complex from a super reliable developer will be launched on the island of Bali, where you can also earn money by purchasing for resale during the pre-sale or at the initial stage of sales to make a profit in the short term. Intervals of 6 to 8 to 10 months, or enter at the lowest cost and earn about 12-15% per annum. Yes, it is a rarity on the island, but nevertheless, we sometimes encounter such profitability. The property will be sold through a pre-sale, meaning before the sales officially start. So if you are interested, feel free to write, call, or send me the word mailing on WhatsApp. The link is in the first pinned comment, and you can immediately join my chat. And I will definitely add you to this chat of ours, to this mailing list, where we send the hottest and most profitable real estate offers on the Bali market every week or every 2 weeks. We also have a channel for investors, where we essentially duplicate these offers. Of course, the offers get posted there faster than on YouTube, so feel free to join our Telegram channel. It is open, and the link is in the first pinned comment. Also, if you want us to check your property for actual profitability, whether it will meet the promises made to you, or if they are just ephemeral promises that are unlikely to come true, and the real yield in your complex will be around 3 to 5%. Feel free to write or call us, and we will conduct a check of your complex completely free of charge. It costs nothing, just message us on WhatsApp, and we will analyze it together with the team. Now we will talk about pressing issues, the moratorium, how marketing works, and why one should not buy real estate for more than $3,000 to $3,500 per square meter. But before we get to that, look at this beauty. What a gorgeous sight. We have a little low tide here, right? The shore is exposed. We are walking on the sand. How beautiful it is, isn't it? Yes, Bali is the best, of course. If you haven't been here, come visit. If you have been here, come again. We look forward to having you as our guest. This is, of course, an incredible island, a wonderful place, perhaps the best place in the world to enjoy life, to live in a way that is always memorable, where each day is unique, bright, beautiful, and unforgettable. So, what news do we have? A moratorium on the construction of new facilities in Bali. Oh my God, what is this? The thing is, you see, Bali is arranged in such a way that often even those who are on the island, half of these people do not understand at all what is happening, what news is coming out, and how to make sense of it, so to speak. I won't even mention those who are watching me from the other side of the screen, because it is often necessary to explain in detail to everyone interested in Bali real estate what is happening here, but in reality, everything is very simple. If you are subscribed to my channel, you are always up to date with the latest news from the world of the real estate market in Bali, the moratorium on construction. My friends, there has recently been news that the construction of new facilities in Bali will be prohibited. And everyone kind of spread this news around. But in reality, what is it all about? This is simply a ban on construction in green zones. That is, these are areas where rice fields used to be. They were cleared, not replanted, and buildings began to be constructed there for exploitation. They built both commercial and private buildings, and the current governor has supported this idea. Several other prominent figures have also expressed support for this. The question is, what should we expect from this news? How will this affect us? Why, first of all, it won't affect us at all. It doesn't concern us because we haven't built or sold anything in the green zones. So how should we react to this news, friends? It's very simple. The thing is, in Bali, it often happens that some news comes out, and then someone from the government says something, or just some information reaches us, and it turns out that yes, the idea seems good, but it never gets implemented. As it was quite recently, for example, with real estate supposedly in freehold for all citizens of any country, not just for Balinese, not just for Indonesians, but in general. Any person could buy property outright forever, but that is not the case. And when this news came out, it made quite a splash, but in fact, everything just quieted down, which is what we discussed in the podcast. And here, essentially, it is not such an important piece of news. This is, let's say, a regulatory measure. In Bali, there are several zones: pink, green, and yellow. They are further divided into different categories, meaning there are actually many more of them. But the essence is that some zones can be used for agriculture, others can be used for construction, long-term rental properties, and others are specifically for hotels and short-term rentals. So, what's the point, friends? The fact is that the construction business sector, real estate, has long needed some reforms. And it was naturally calling for them. The regulation in this area is very weak. Everyone builds whatever they want in general, meaning the rules are quite vague. And let's say the norms are still being formed and will naturally change. It is normal for some restrictions, rules, and laws to emerge that regulate activities in one sphere or another. This is absolutely normal, and sooner or later, I am sure that Bali will move towards project financing, lending, and so on. But at the moment, this is not the case. And yes, despite the fact that the real estate market in Bali is the most profitable market for private real estate, even more so than commercial real estate. In essence, it brings in more income than in many countries around the world. But the regulation in the market is, of course, relatively weak. You must understand that, and it is generally acceptable if the government strengthens control measures in this area, as it will overall benefit and, let's say, increasingly legitimize this market. I say it again. At the moment, there is currently no talk of any ban on any construction. It means that construction is only prohibited in green zones. In fact, this is where we have not built or sold anything. Next, an important point, friends. Let's talk about that hypothetical scenario where some kind of ban, a moratorium, temporary for a year, 2, or 3, is introduced on construction, for example, on pink land or yellow land. That is, they would prohibit the construction of villas and apartments, let's say. Well, first of all, I think that all this talk about how Bali will lose its authenticity and so on is mostly election talk, because there will be elections for the governor of Bali in November, and therefore, with all due respect, I understand how this works. All of this is more about agitation, and everyone is now joining these opinions saying, yes, we approve of this, of course Bali needs to preserve its authenticity and so on. In reality, Bali is unique. Everything that is currently being built, I don't know, it's at most 10% of what is on the island right now, you understand? So, everything that has been built in the last 2 to 3 years is just an increase of 10% of the real estate that exists on the island, at most, or even less. Probably around 5%, something like that. Up to 5 to 10%. Up to 5 to 10%, that's why. This does not affect authenticity on the island in any way. It seems to me that this is just, more talk. Political chatter. Moreover, I don't think that the governor of Bali or the gubernatorial candidate of Bali do not understand that these are still jobs, money for the economy, new real estate that attracts more tourists, more upscale properties, and so on. In other words, they are unlikely to, as the saying goes, cut the branch they are sitting on. So let's indulge in a bit of speculation about what might happen if a moratorium were indeed introduced, similar to the experience in, for example, Russia. Look, the thing is that in Sochi, for example, a moratorium on the construction of villas has been introduced. For example, it is not possible to build villas for a year, or 2 years, or 3 years, and apartment complexes. What will happen to the prices? The complexes that are being built or have just been completed will soar in price. Of course, not by 2 times, but 1.5 times is quite possible. Why? This happened based on the experience of Russia. For example, in Sochi, when a moratorium on construction was announced, first of all, an important point is that there was a moratorium, but construction continued. In other words, as we say, all are equal, but I am more equal. And there is a very interesting phrase that, in essence, can probably tell you a lot about absolutely Bali, and perhaps about Indonesia as a whole. In fact, indeed, if almost anything is possible here, well, within reason. If you know the right person, Yes, that is indeed the case. Everyone who lives in Bali understands perfectly what I am talking about. All the expats, all the entrepreneurs, developers, and people from other related businesses. Trust me, even if there is some restriction at the federal level, construction will still take place. Simply put, living expenses will be more expensive and so on and so forth. I think you understand this. But let's imagine what will happen if construction is really restricted. It's very simple, friends. Prices will soar. It may not be twice as much, but definitely 1.5 times, as it was in Sochi. Construction projects will continue, but they will be built less, more quietly, and less noticeably. But this will essentially only affect your wallet, in fact. This means that real estate here will now be more expensive. That's it. And if the pace of construction growth is artificially limited, then the market right now, as we say, is not increasing in price. This means that a stable price has already emerged in the market. Accordingly, it is growing wider due to the number of facilities in different areas and so on. And if we limit this, tourists will be forced to pay more because the remaining properties will be rented out for higher prices. That's all. Currently, the price increase is minimal, but it is very minimal. I mean in terms of rent, according to reports from the largest management companies on the island. And you see, if we artificially stop the introduction of new square meters into operation, then of course, the prices for real estate, for rent, and for the properties themselves will start to rise, which I believe will not be very good for tourists. Because Bali is famous for the fact that, in principle, tourists with any income come here. Whether they are dollar millionaires or surfers without any money. Vibe, this is freedom, this is nature, bikes, he rides, his hair flowing and so on. This is the essence of the island, its whole appeal, that anyone, regardless of their income, will find something to do here. For example, right here, please. Everyone is swimming here, you see. Right in the river, it's beautiful. I hope I was understood correctly, right? If you have any questions about this, feel free to write or call. The second topic I wanted to discuss with you is how marketing works in Bali. Let's say you have a budget of $250,000 and your agent tells you urgently buy the villa. It's the last chance, the last train, jump on it quickly. And you think, yes, it really seems like there is some logic to this, the last chance, the reservation has been cancelled, and so on. But friends, taking the most important information, even in a month or two, there will still be a property, a good property, that you will also be able to purchase under market conditions, and there will be some hot options. Join us in our newsletter on Telegram and WhatsApp, whichever is more convenient for you, and take a look. We have some really hot offers. I'm not saying that they don't exist in the moment, but anyone who says that it's urgent or hot is lying. No, of course, they are not lying. But most of those who use such phrases, saying that you should buy now, buy today, buy, are mostly just employing a marketing trick, a ploy, to lure you into this property. In fact, this property is often no better than any other on the market. It is simply a matter of market value. So keep this in mind, and when you plan a purchase, approach the selection of real estate calmly and rationally, as well as the calculation of profitability. Don't believe everything that is written in the developer's presentations, because often it's just empty words. I'm not saying that all realtors operate this way, but most of them really try to push something on you faster and faster, and generally they then forget that you bought some property from them, and that's it. And they do not help you with the re-registration of this property, nor with selling it, nor with renting it if you need that. We are a full-service agency, so feel free to write or call us. We will definitely help you with all your questions. Most importantly, we will help you calculate the true, correct, and real profitability of your property, because often you will be fed a lot of nonsense and told that it brings 17, 20, 25, 30, 40% annual returns and so on. But in reality, most properties, as you know, do not yield more than 10, 12% per year. And most of them yield only 5 to 7% per year. Therefore, one needs to be very careful and cautious here. What a sunset, my friends. What a sunset indeed. Beautiful. Why shouldn't you buy properties in Bali that cost more than $3,500, $4,000 per square meter? It's very simple, my friends. I won't drag this out, as they say. The fact is that you simply won't be able to resell it later in any way. $3,000 is actually a psychological price, maybe three or a little over three, but it is determined not only by the cost per square meter, which is already quite significant for the property you are buying, considering the quality of construction, the furniture, the appliances, and so on. The fact is that the psychological threshold of $3,000 is also determined by certain economic models and financial payback models, where your property should yield at least 10-12% per year. Our goal in all investments with our clients is to provide you with a minimum of 12-14%, 12 or 14, at a time when most properties on the market yield 6 to 7% annually. And if you buy a property worth $3,500, $4,000, then of course, very often, with rare exceptions, you will not even receive 7 to 8% per year. Perhaps you do not understand this right now, and maybe you do not have a direct connection to it, of course, a correlation, because you lack experience. But I tell you, on behalf of all those who have already purchased real estate on the island, and I say, through me speaks the large management companies. The reports, the financial statements of the management companies and developers, where people are actually earning 5 to 7% per year instead of the promised 15 to 17%. I will share one of the recent cases when my client was recently purchasing multiple units from me, and he was also simultaneously buying from other developers at earlier stages. And here is one of those developers from whom he did not purchase through me, offering him to buy a property in his next complex. And this client, let's call him Sergey for convenience, asks, "Can I request from that developer what your financial reports are for the complexes you have already completed?" He receives this financial report, and he simply substitutes this financial report, these indicators, for the same units, that is, for the villas. Yes, 2-bedroom ones, and inputs the price at which he can currently buy this property. And what do you think? What was his return in this scenario? 5% per year. This is the plain truth, and of course he did not go for this property because a 5% annual return is simply ridiculous. It's just ridiculous, and certainly real estate in Bali is not the case where you enter for a 5% return on investment. Friends, that's all I have for now. If you want to invest effectively and profitably on the island of Bali, feel free to write or call. My phone number is in the first pinned link in the comments to this video. Subscribe to the newsletter. We will keep you constantly informed. Also, subscribe. The latest and hottest news from the world of individuality in Bali will be available to you on YouTube. So, wishing everyone goodness, good mood, and luck in everything. These are the most beautiful sunsets we have.